I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Like, first fight I won on points. I don't even know how I got the points. And then the fight...
You didn't know the points,
No,
right?
I didn't know what happened. I just fight the guy, and then I was winning on points at the end of the 5 minutes. I win. Okay. And then the final, I think the guy, knowing what I know now, I think the guy took me down and he got 2 points, and I think it finished at 2-0. I lost on points in the final. But at the time, I remember like going outside, phoning my best friend, Tom, and I was like, Tom, I got silver. Oh my God. I was so excited. I was like so happy. I was like so joyful that I managed to like go, because I got on the train, travelled to London on my own. So it was all alien to me. I was so even though I was a grown man, like I was so nervous. I didn't really know anybody of my team. So I still felt like as an outsider when I got there.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. So you were training once a week?
Yeah.
For 3 weeks?
Yeah.
So 3 trainings?
Yes.
And you went to the competition?
And I went and competed, yeah. It's just that competitive thing in me. I'd always competed playing football. At school, I was like part of the athletics team, the cricket team, the basketball team. So it was always the rounders team. We was always going to other schools competing. Taekwondo, I competed. So it's just natural for me. Like as soon as I knew that I liked the sport and there was a competition, let's go, let's try. Yeah. Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to do this, let's try it, let's see what this is about. And then I found what I love most, the competition. Like that's so good. I love it.
Hello and welcome. Today I'm here with Sam, and Sam is BJJ black belt, coach, and athlete, and many more. Yeah, with a very, very interesting past and the whole life journey, and that's what I want to get into because it's extremely inspiring and, well, basically just hard work pays off, right?
Yeah, of course.
Kind of story.
Yeah.
So, Sam, just starting with kind of a traditional question here. Your fitness background when you were a kid, you were playing some sports. What did you do?
Yes, so I'm from like a family with 2 brothers. So we was always like football crazy. Being from the UK, like football was like everything in our household. My mum, my dad, my brothers are all like football mad.
Football religion.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So from the minute I could walk, kick a ball, that's all we did. And then I was always like very athletic. And you remember the days before we had phones and consoles. And so it was like outdoors as much as you could. So we'd always be out like, it depended like what would be on the TV at the time. If it was Wimbledon, we'd be out playing tennis. If it was the cricket, we would be playing cricket.
Yeah,
so any sport we would always be involved in somehow. And then like playing manhunt, and manhunt's like a group of friends. One of you would have like a base. Everyone would go hide, and then they'd have to come find you. So
like kind of like hide and seek, but more dynamic.
But a bit more of a mature version.
Okay.
But so yeah, we was always doing stuff like this, building camps. So, excuse me, my life growing up was always very active.
Were you more from like a city or like what kind of?
I'm from a town, but then I lived in a small village on the outskirts of that town.
So you had a lot of outdoor opportunities.
So there was like farmland, a lot of farmland around, which is all now houses as the modern day grows. But yeah, so we spent pretty much the majority of my childhood just outdoors, playing sports, playing games. And then I think like 7 years old, I joined my first football team. And I was playing, like training properly and playing competitive games on the weekend.
Okay.
So yeah, and then I played competitive football more or less up until I found Jiu Jitsu.
Which was?
Like 28 years old.
Oh, so you played competitive football for 20 years?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
More or less, yeah.
Oh, wow. And, okay, just a side question, just from the interest. Yeah. How old were your brothers? Like older, younger?
My older brother's 3 years older.
Okay.
And my younger brother's 3 years younger.
Also,
yeah, so we're very close. I'm the middle.
Yeah. You're the middle one. Yeah. Okay. Oh, cool. Well, so you always got beaten by one, and then you could push it down. Yeah.
Until the little one got older, and then he actually became the better footballer out of all 3 of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
So he got a bit older and then he started beating us.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so 20 years of football.
Yes.
Have you had some, let's say, successes or like some major wins?
At the level that I played, as a kid, like football was, I don't know how I survived. I think because my love for football so much and our family, man, I used to get beat every week. For nearly every team that I played for, bar 1 year, and we used to get destroyed every week. Like, 22 goals to 2.
Oh, really?
20, like, I'd come home crying, so sad. And like, I don't know how I didn't quit, but persevered. And then when I became an adult, I didn't play at, not quite a semi-professional level, but just below a semi-professional level. And I had quite a bit of good success. Like, we won a lot of stuff as adults. I become like a pretty good player for the level I played at. But I knew pretty young that I wasn't never going to be a
when
professional.
you say for the level you played at, like what kind of level was that?
If you're comparing the elite, so the Premier League, compared to where I was playing, we was like at the bottom, like right at the bottom. The first step to making it as a professional.
Okay, so the first layer kind of, yeah?
Yeah, so like you got amateur people that do it for fun, which is what we did on a Sunday. So that would be like your local pub teams, just a group of friends. You'd make a team and you'd all play against each other. Saturday was a bit more serious. And then I played at like what was called a Kent League level. So if the team that I played for at the highest level was a team called Woodstock, and they were like 2 divisions off being professional at the very lowest of getting to the Premier League. So it's nothing to like shout about, but it was a big thing, like playing for us to play from where I'm from, like to play for Woodstock and to try. I had trials and was signed by my local town, Sittingbourne, but I never eventually went on to play for them.
So you would, at that point, you would get paid for playing?
Yeah, the players that were playing for Sittingbourne would have got paid, but I never actually went on to play for them. So it was like a nice thing to be signed by your local town, but also like a bit disappointing that I never actually got the chance to represent.
And why?
Just not good enough. Like,
okay. Yeah. Okay. So like,
so I
you didn't cross that line, yeah?
Yeah. There's levels to every sport, right? So I
guess that's super competitive, like the sheer volume of people there.
Of course, yeah. Like UK football's #1 sport. Every boy grows up wanting to be a footballer. So I wasn't too I just loved playing football. So it didn't matter what level I was playing at, as long as I was with my friends.
That's probably why you didn't quit when you were losing so much,
exactly,
right?
Yeah,
because you were playing for the game itself.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, that's did you see some, like, I like this kind of a psychology of it, right? Like, because as a kid, you are destroyed on a weekly basis in game you love, and you don't quit.
Yeah,
it's like you know, like, did it eventually become better, or you just like outgrew that group and then it's...
Yeah, so I think there was one season that maybe this probably saved me. There was one season that I don't know why we did so well, because it was the same terrible team. There was a few good players that was in that team, but maybe we got put in a poorer league. But we did really well. We finished second in the league. We was winning every week. I actually scored like 28 goals that season, and I wasn't known as a goal scorer. And I managed to score like 28 goals in that season, and that was like a relief. But like I said, I never really. Obviously, as a kid, you want to win, right? I was, and from a very competitive. Like, one of my dad's sayings was "second sucks." It doesn't matter how well you did. Second sucks. It's the first loser. So that's the kind of mentality that me and my brothers had. We went out to, if we was playing a game of football in the hallway in our house, we were in it to win. Like, I want to beat him. I'm not going to lose to my brother. So anything we did, we was competitive. So I never really thought about it too much. I just really loved playing football. So. And knowing what I know now, actually persevering and pushing through that built so much character and resilience to facing adversity and not quitting. But I didn't know at the time. I was just a kid playing
Now
football.
you reflect.
Yeah. Now I understand that actually did a lot for me. That I didn't realize it was doing at the time. So it's not all bad.
Yeah, for sure. Like I definitely, when you're saying all this, and I know you from your other competitive career and how you approach things, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. You know? That you kind of like got a, I don't want to mean it bad, but like a lot of disappointment. And now you persevered anyway, you pushed through anyway,
course,
and it's your mentality, right?
You need that, right?
Yeah.
So if it's always good and you're always winning, you don't know what it's like to lose. So if you then eventually start losing all the time, it might have a real negative effect on your mindset, on do I want to actually do this?
Like Ronda Rousey,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Always winning until she didn't.
Yeah, and then she lost a few times and that was it, game over. But yeah, so, and one thing my dad always installed in us as a kids was like, you might not be the best, but work rate will make up for that, especially in a team sport. Right, so if I'm not the best player in the team, if I work 15% harder than everybody on the pitch, that sometimes can win us the game.
Yep.
Even though I'm not the one that's actually dribbling the ball past someone and scoring, just my work effort in terms of defense, getting back, working for the team, doing what's needed. So we always had like, I always wanted to outwork everybody. Right?
That's basically the old saying, right? Like, hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard.
Unless talent works hard, and then everybody's in trouble. But so like, I'm very, very grateful for that in terms of like a physical sense, because every sport I've ever done, cardio, that mindset to push harder than everybody else, that was installed in me since I was a kid. And always growing up, I was very, very small for my age, very like skinny, very small, not very like tall or strong. So I was always at a disadvantage. I always doubted myself. I always would look at other kids and think they're bigger than me, they're stronger than me, they're better than me. And that would drive me to prove people wrong. I was always trying to prove myself wrong and also prove other people wrong. You'll doubt me, I'll prove to you, don't doubt me.
Look at me.
Yeah. Sometimes it didn't work, but sometimes it did. And I always had in my mind, like, when I get to that point where I can say, I told you, don't doubt me. I never did. Very, very rarely. There was a small, very limited amount of times that I did. But once I did it, I never felt like I needed to, don't doubt me. What you got to say now? Yeah. I just, you let your actions talk, right?
Yeah. So you had that inner feeling?
Yeah.
That was enough for you.
That satisfaction. Well, I did it. Like, I doubted myself. They all doubted me. And I put in the work and I achieved what I tried to achieve. There's no need to gloat. There's no need to, I told you so.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty mature.
I wasn't very mature though. So, yeah.
But that's showing character as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why would you stick it to their faces? You already, you did what you wanted to, what you're supposed to win. And that.
Yeah. My mum and dad brought me up with good attitude and morals.
Yep.
And I pride myself on like keeping them to this day now. Always try to be like an honest, upfront, straightforward person. What you see is what you get. Like, so yeah. I'm thinking now, like talking about all this stuff, like my childhood taught me a lot that I don't really like, just taking it all in now, like how much these things, because you're not as knowledgeable as a kid, right? So now as an adult with what I know, I actually realized that these were teaching me a lot of lessons in life.
Yeah, good to reflect sometimes and see how far we've came, right?
Yeah, a long way.
Yeah. Well, you had a wild journey, right? But before we go to like how you got to jiu-jitsu, you told me once that you were always running.
Yes.
Like you're never walking anywhere.
Yes.
That's how you got your cardio. What is that about?
I don't know. Maybe it's just, I just assumed that's what kids do. Like if I'd go to the shop, I'd run to the shop and then I'd run back. If I was going to a friend's house, I'd run. I'd just always just run everywhere. I don't know if that's like just being athletic and always playing sports and always running. It's just, I'd just run.
Like walking was too boring, so...
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I was
That's
an
cool.
early Forrest Gump.
Before it was cool, yeah. Cool. So Sam, you said 28 years old.
Yes.
You started jiu-jitsu. What was your life like at that point? Like, what was your job? Have you been still training football at that point?
So at the time I was training, playing football, and I was actually doing taekwondo as well. Because we had the 2012, I think, London Olympics. Mm-hmm. And we was watching, me and my friend, and the taekwondo was in the Olympics that year. And there's a UK athlete, Jade Jones. She won gold. So he was watching this, and the WTF style of taekwondo is there's no punching. It's just crazy kicks. Like it's not the most realistic fight scenario,
but they are so powerful.
Yeah, and once you train and you understand what it takes to kick at their level, to be able to compete at that level, they're crazy good athletes. Like, you can say what you want. UFC is the ultimate fight, right? So some of these people would transcend into MMA, okay? But just taking it for what it is as a sport, I was fascinated. Like, I see these crazy kicks and this dexterity and flexibility, and I was like, man, I want to try this.
You know, just fun fact, historically, in Taekwondo, people kick so high because they were trained to kick a person off the horse.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I heard this before, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they kick so high, and that's why they have all the spinning kicks.
So they can jump kick off.
Yeah, because they were trained, and they were basically trying. Well, it was a combat thing, right? Before, yeah, it was like a actual combat thing, battlefield combat, not just for the show. And that was the purpose, kicking so high, because and when you think about it, that's
makes
very
sense,
high.
Right? That's very
high. Kick somebody off the horse, like, all right, you know.
I couldn't kick the top of the horse's leg. So me and my friend was like, man, we should try this. And I think it took me 2 months to actually like build up. I wouldn't say courage, but to actually go and do it. Mm-hmm. So I looked on Google. There was a local taekwondo club. So we went there, but this was ITF, which is a different style of taekwondo.
That's not the one that is on Olympics, yeah?
No, that's called WTF. So ITF's got some sort of hands striking.
Mm-hmm. No worse.
Yeah, very limited striking in terms. I think like it's just straight punches. So I went, tried my first class. It was amazing. Like, I had so much fun. I really enjoyed it. And playing football all my life and being pretty flexible, I found that I could kick very well instantly. Mm-hmm. So there was not that, I feel like a clumsy white belt period. Uh-huh. I just went in and I was kicking like some of the best guys in the gym.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like there was a couple of guys there very good. Like they had like trials for the GB team. I used to get kicked in the head a lot by them guys. But apart from that, like I was doing well against like some black belts and some of the higher grade guys in sparring instantly straight away. So I was like, right, I want to do this. So I took that up, and then I started competing in that as well. Actually, I never lost a fight in the 2 years that I trained. I won like multiple British and English titles. I won the Puma World Championships, which sounds amazing, like you're a world champion taekwondo, but it was a British organisation, and the invitation was open to international people to come over and compete, but it wasn't like I was fighting the best guys.
Okay.
It's not like...
So it was basically the best who came.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So
yeah.
The final fight was a tough fight, but I had tougher fights in some of the smaller competitions, to be honest, but it just had world champion on the medal. So, but it is what it is. You can only fight what's in front of you. Yeah, exactly. So in the time that I was competing, I was very good with my kicking, but not very good with my hands because I'd never done any form of fighting growing up, apart from just like a bit of boxing in the back garden with my brothers and stuff like this. So I'd always get punched in the face all the time. Like no matter what happened in the fight, even if I dominated the guy, at least once or twice I would get punched so hard in the face that I was like, I need to go and learn how to box, or I need to learn how to punch and defend myself.
How long have you been doing the taekwondo?
This was just 2 years in total.
Okay.
So this was towards the end of the 2 years.
So within 2 years, you were like winning competitions and dominating the field, yeah?
Yeah, so...
are there also, I assume there are weight categories,
weight
age categories?
And belt as well.
And belt as well,
yeah.
okay.
So I went in a white belt, and I think when you first... Taekwondo's not like jiu-jitsu. There's a time scale for each belt.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of that time scale, you have to do a practical test. Like, so they're patterns that you have to learn. I can't remember what they call them.
Kata?
Katas or something. Yeah.
It's like similar to karate.
Yeah. And then you would do like a speaking. So you'd have to remember a certain amount of Korean words, like what kicks were, like different kicks, numbers, and then they would give you random questions and you'd have to answer.
Oh, like
this.
actual terminology of it.
Yes. So like, I remember a few, like Yop Shaggy was like a front kick, I think, or Dolio Shaggy's like a turning kick. So we'd have to learn these terminologies.
You get 50% right just when you say kick at the end, right?
Yeah, so you just have to,
anyway.
exactly. So if you failed a certain amount of them, then I believe, if I remember right, you could fail the belt test. But if you got all of those right and you passed the practical, you'd pass with like an A grade. So you'd get like, that's the best you can get. And I think the 6 belts, because it was every 6, I can't remember how many belts, it might have been 8. I don't know if it was, so it's a certain amount each month. So I passed all these with A grades, apart from my last one. And I think it would have been another 2.5 years and I would have got my black belt.
Oh,
if I had stayed training.
Oh, that's pretty quick.
Yeah, it was
comparable to
it's
other.
like 4.5 years, I believe, something like that. To jiu-jitsu, an average of 10 years.
Yeah, but you got it way faster.
8. So just over 8 years, yeah. So, but I was super dedicated.
Well, yeah, and winning world championships.
Yeah,
but we'll get there.
we'll get there.
We'll get there.
So I actually phoned a boxing gym first, and I didn't like the guy's attitude when I rung. I got a bad vibe just over the phone. So I don't like the sound of this guy. I don't like the way he's talking to me. He's not like selling his business very well. Like he actually put me off going to try boxing at his gym. I can't say that he didn't say anything specific to put me off, but I just got such a negative energy from him that I was like, I'm not going to go there. So then I searched for MMA gyms, and there was actually one opposite my Taekwondo gym, which is called Dragon's Lair in Sittingbourne. It's actually where I started jiu-jitsu. So I went there for the MMA classes. So doing okay, get punched in the face a bit.
More?
Yeah. But then when we was doing the sparring, I'd know grappling. Like me and my brothers were WWF fans, like crazy growing up. So we spent...
Who was your favorite?
Oh God, so many.
So many?
Man, we used to... Yeah, so many. Like, I remember the days of like Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. Like,
okay, yeah.
We've been on this from young. So The Undertaker's got to be up there for a fan favorite, right? So we'd spent most of our life picking each other up, throwing each other through beds, and so wrestling and fighting each other. So then when I went to the MMA and it started going to the ground, I just naturally was like getting to people's backs pretty well. Some of the guys have been like training MMA for a little while, had amateur fights, and I was submitting these guys, like, and I hadn't been training very...
So you didn't really know any technique, but you're still submitting.
I'd watched UFC, so I knew if I got on the back to like wrap my arms around their neck and squeeze, like, so...
It's a very brief description of how it works.
Exactly, yeah. So it's just like white belt stuff, right? So I'd managed to get on some guy's back, put my arms around the neck, and so I was submitting a few guys in the early classes, and they was like, you should try jiu-jitsu. We have this crazy little Brazilian guy that comes down on a Saturday. His name's Valmyr Neto. Come try, buy one of the gis, come try jiu-jitsu in the gi. I was like, okay, let's try. So then that Saturday I went along to the jiu-jitsu class and I just fell in love first class. I did some of the technique and then we sparred. I actually got a black eye. Someone kneed me in the face, so cut my eye, I had a black eye. First ever time trying it.
And that was the not as contact as all the previous stuff.
So I got less like bruises and black eyes in Taekwondo than I did
session in BJJ.
My first session in Jiu-Jitsu.
You're like, oh, there's something into it.
Yeah, welcome to the gentle art. So then I just fell in love with it first class. Neto is such a character, such a nice guy. Like, really got a good vibe from him, from the students. And it just, I don't know what it was about it. It just, instantly I knew, this is what I want to do. Like, nice. This is so intriguing. Like, it's like a puzzle, right? And even though I didn't know anything at the time, I was just drawn.
I think this kind of also happened to me, not necessarily in a BJJ, because it took me a while until I got to BJJ. I was first doing MMA, like only, let's say. And like for me, it was, and I was always thinking about like, what is it? Because this is not as rare, this kind of story, like a guy or a girl, comes and they just see it and they're like, oh my God. And it's an instant obsession. And the only thing I can come up with, why is this happening, is the fact that you see how much you can learn, that there's so much you have no idea how it works. You're just like, you see other people rolling, you see your coach submitting somebody and like, I don't even know how he did it. What just happened? You know, I was like, that's so cool. I want to be a person, because everybody, right, wants to be this character where others are looking up to them. And it's just that instant drive. Like, I want people look at me like I know this kind of stuff, you know? And that was always, for me, it was that, like, you can know, I mean, come on, you're black belt, world champion, 10 years in it, and there's still...
I still feel like I know nothing.
Yeah. There's so much to learn all the time. So it's like, if somebody thinks they figure out jiu-jitsu, no, you didn't.
Even my instructor, he's like, my professor, Valmyr, I think he's like 15, 16-year black belt now. And
16-year black belt?
16 years.
That means 25 plus probably years in jiu-jitsu.
Over 20 years of training jiu-jitsu. I think he started training jiu-jitsu at like 15 years old, something like this. And he says all the time that he's still learning, still finding out stuff that he didn't know. So if this guy is amazing at jiu-jitsu. So if this guy is 20 plus years in and he's still learning, I don't know a single thing. Like,
maybe for other people this is discouraging, right? Because you can never say like, I'm done or I accomplished something, right? Because you never are truly finished with it.
Yeah, so I can understand why that would be discouraging to some people, but I find that as motivation.
Yeah.
Like it's
for me the same. Yeah. For me, that's the motivation. Like, there is always something to be learned. So
what I'd say to them people is, don't be discouraged, because you will feel the accomplishment of achieving things along the way. It just means the goalpost keeps moving. Like, your progression can still go somewhere. It's like, you don't get to this point and then that's it. Like, it just stops there.
That's what we always had with CrossFit. Like, you know, beginners, people, and they're just like, will it ever get easier? Like, no. You might get better, you will get faster times, you will get higher rates. But the feeling, actually, it's probably get worse.
Yeah.
Because you can push way more. Like, once you get your strength base at a certain level, you have way more chance, way bigger ability of producing power. And that sucks, because you can utilize more.
Because I assume, going off of what I know from other training, is that whether you're at the start or at the end, your body's got a point that you can push it to, right? So if you're a white belt, a black belt, CrossFit, beginner, expert, you still should be pushing yourself to that point.
Yep.
And even further if you can, so that the
Once
feeling's never going to go, right? You're not going to get away from that.
Yeah, you better accept it.
Exactly, yeah. So, like, training's tough sometimes in jiu-jitsu. It's very tough. I don't ever lie to the students. It gets easier to deal with. You become better. You become a lot better at pacing yourself, understanding when to use bursts of energy, when to rest, being better at able to stop somebody from moving so you can rest.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes, like, doesn't matter how good you are. Like, if I train with Hachinho, like, sometimes I can't stop him from moving. So if I'm tired and I need to catch my breath against him, I can't, because he's passing. The only time I get to stop is when he gets to my back or when he gets to side control.
I know that feeling very well. You are usually that person for me. Like infinite spur of spinning and tossing, and I was just like, I rather give you the back already.
And then just relax there for a minute.
I can at least catch my breath
and
there.
try to survive. Yeah, so...
Well, that was most of our sparrings anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got on my back in 30 seconds, and then I was using all my strength to delay the choke. Not stop, just delay it. Yeah. Okay, so you started BJJ.
Yes.
And like immediately, a couple of times a week, training regularly?
At this time, it was just Saturdays, because Neto was based at a gym like 45 minutes from my home. And at this time, he was teaching out of this gym. He later goes on to joint own this gym with his business partner. Mm-hmm. And then he would teach at several other gyms around the area. And one of them was in my town. So I actually did like 3 classes and went straight to a competition. So 3 weeks in.
Did you win?
I got silver. So like 3 weeks in and I went and competed. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Like, first fight I won on points. I don't even know how I got the points. And then the fight...
You didn't know the points,
no,
right?
I didn't know what happened. I just fight the guy, and then I was winning on points at the end of the 5 minutes. I win. Okay. And then the final, I think the guy, knowing what I know now, I think the guy took me down and he got 2 points, and I think it finished at 2-0. I lost on points in the final. But at the time, I remember like going outside, phoning my best friend, Tom, and I was like, Tom, I got silver. Oh my God. I was so excited. I was like so happy. I was like so joyful that I managed to like go, because I got on the train, travelled to London on my own. So it was all alien to me. I was so even though I was a grown man, like I was so nervous. I didn't really know anybody of my team. I'd only really met Neto, because the people competing were from the main gym. So I didn't know any of these guys. I hadn't trained with these guys yet. So I still felt like as an outsider when I got there.
Yeah, but I mean, okay. So you were training once a week?
Yeah.
For 3 weeks?
Yeah.
So 3 trainings?
Yes.
And you went to the competition?
And I went and competed, yeah. It's just that competitive thing in me. I'd always competed playing football. At school, I was like part of the athletics team, the cricket team, the basketball team. So it was always the rounders team. We was always going to other schools competing. Taekwondo, I competed. So it's just natural for me. Like, as soon as I knew that I liked the sport and there was a competition, let's go, let's try. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'm scared, I don't want to do this, let's try it, let's see what this is about. And then I found what I love most, the competition. Like, that's so good. I love it.
Okay, and then what was the progress from there?
After that, I decided that a friend, I have to give this guy and his friend a lot of credit. Sam Austin and his friend Dan, who moved to Australia. They used to go to Neto's main gym in Gravesend in the UK. And they said, why don't you come with us? Like, I didn't have a car at the time, like working, had a young child. So like it was hard to financially to travel there and back. And plus,
what did you work? You were as a construction
yeah,
worker,
at the
right?
time, construction. I think at the time I was doing screeding, floor screeding. So I was like a pump operative. So it's basically a machine. You get a big pile of sand dropped off in the morning, a pallet of cement, you fill a big bucket of water up, like a big bowser of water.
So pretty strong physical work.
Yeah, and then you just shoveling sand into the machine all day. You chuck the cement in, chuck the water, mixes it up, and then compressed air will pump it into the building through hoses. And then the guys indoors will lay it. It was probably underneath these floor tiles.
Uh-huh.
And then the guys indoors would then spread it and lay it. Just do that constantly, all day long. Yeah, it was tough.
So, okay, so how much time you actually had to dedicate to training?
So at that time, it varied when I changed jobs. But if I was screening or I was doing scaffolding, like labouring for scaffolders, sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, so if I was labouring for bricklayers, like carrying their bricks and their cement and stuff, I'd normally like pick up at like 4, 5 in the morning, and then I'll be coming home on average like 5, 6 in the evening. And then I'd get a 45-minute train or a 30-minute car ride to training, train for a couple of hours in the evening, and then back home, shower, eat, sleep for like 4 or 5 hours and do that again. And I'll do that. I'll try to do that like 5, 6 times a week, and then compete whenever I could on the weekend as well.
On 5 hours sleep?
Yeah.
On a better day?
On average, like I'd live on between 4 to 6 hours sleep most days. Like some days I'd come home from work with the full intention of going training. I'd sit down on the sofa and I'd wake up the next morning for work. Because after like 4 or 5 days of doing that, sometimes your body just shuts down.
Yeah, of course.
So, and it's like, I need to sleep. But yeah, like it's only since I moved to Dubai really, like that I've started being able to sleep properly, especially since I've moved to RGA. But I'm getting a good like 7 to 8 hours sleep nearly every night now, which is pretty good. It feels good to be able to sleep.
Yeah, well, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, what was it? Just the was it the competition and just the drive and the love for BJJ that like kept you going like this? Because that was for years, right?
Yeah. So at first it was just, I always did something anyway. Like I was never the guy to just sit and do nothing. So every times I'd love
okay,
to
but,
sit and
come on.
I'd always like be football training in the evening, or when I played football, I would train 3-4 times in the evening in the week, and then I'd play 2 or 3 times on the weekend. So I was always like constantly training for something.
But this is crazy. Just like how were you even able to like eat and recover through it? Because you had, okay, one thing is that the hours at work were long, but the other thing is that it was all manual labor.
Yeah.
So you're just like grinding 12 hours there.
A lot of lower back pain. But it was difficult. I'm not gonna lie. But it also just, I think you become numb to it. It just was life. Like that's just my life. That's what I did. Like when I look back now, it seems a bit crazy. But like when I talk to my wife now, and I say I'm just so, she couldn't understand how I'm having 4 or 5 hours because she's the same as you.
Yeah.
You need to sleep. You need to sleep. Like she'd always like, you need to sleep more. You're not sleeping enough. I was like, it's just used to it. This is, it doesn't, until I started sleeping properly, until I started getting good sleep, I didn't realize how much better you feel. because I was so used to like operating off of that much sleep.
Yeah.
Like, so on the way to work in the morning, I'll try and get an hour sleep in the van if you could on the way home.
Oh, yeah.
So
okay.
you're always trying to catch an hour or 30-minute nap whenever you can.
But that's like a lot of kind of random chasing.
Yeah. You're just
yeah.
trying to get a little bit of shut eye when you can. So yeah, it was difficult, but I just loved jiu-jitsu. And then when I realized that I was going to compete, like you said, so now if I'm going to compete at something, I'd do it. There's no point in being a competitor if you're going to act like a hobbyist. So I would turn up to the gym if I could. I'd be in the gym 30 minutes before and I'll be annoying the brown belts. Do you want to do some rounds? So I'll be there as like a white belt, fresh white belt, 1 stripe, 2 stripe, and I'll be annoying the brown and purple belts like, let's do some rounds. And I'd get 2 or 3 rounds sparring in before we would actually start the class. So I'd always make an effort to try and get to class a little bit early if I could. So.
You know, I'm just... Many times when we hear stories like this, when people hear about, whether it's in a movie or, you know, about somebody, not enough sleep and this and that, and a lot of physical work and then training, it's like, you know, people are usually like, oh, wow, that's inspiring, but I don't think that they understand how much it sucks.
Yeah.
Like how really, really bad, or not bad in that sense, but like how really tough this is as a situation.
Yeah.
When you really, and you already accepted it as your reality.
Yes.
So you are okay with it. But when you look at back, you're like, that was crazy, right?
Yeah. For me, it wasn't so much like, it was the dislove for what I had to get up and force myself to do for long periods of time. I'm not going to complain about the money that I earned because that was my own fault for not concentrating at school. I got to a point...
So you didn't really care about
my mum was
education?
a teacher. My dad was same construction. Then he went into factory work and forklift driving and stuff like this. So I always was instilled with that work ethic, go out, earn your money. So I always tried to keep my schoolwork to a level that kept my mum. My dad, I could get around.
Okay.
Me and my dad were very friends as I was growing. He was very strict and pushed me. He's a big reason for the sports side of he's a big reason for my mentality and things like this. But in terms of academically, my mum was the one that would always make sure you're doing your homework and I had to try and keep my mum happy to a certain level. So I knew that school I fell in with the group of people that I hang around with growing up from the era we didn't really care about school too much. It was more of go to school, have fun, get through it as much as you could. Yeah. And I didn't think about my future enough, which is something that I don't regret because everything that I did in my life, I believe, has led me to be where I am now. So
for sure,
no regrets. But if I could go back, I'd probably put a lot more effort into doing well academically.
Let's say you wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say concentrate at school, try and figure out what you want to do, go get qualified and try and even if you deviate from that because you want to try something else, and you want to be a jiu-jitsu athlete or you want to be a tennis star but it doesn't work out, at least you've got that to fall back on. I know if this didn't work, I'm stuck in a life that I hated for the rest of my life. And then I'm going to grow old, I'm going to grow bitter, I'm going to grow sour, and I'm going to regret. So I just really didn't like going to work, putting so much time and effort, breaking my body, for people that didn't care about me, not earning enough money, struggling through life. So once I found jiu-jitsu and I want to do this. So that was a drive.
Have it ever crossed your mind that jiu-jitsu will be the ticket for a better life, in a meaning of it will change your career?
When I first found it?
Yeah.
No.
So what time did you start to think of? Just to get it clear, I mean, long story short, but we'll get it more into detail. Through your coach, you got an offer to become a coach.
Yes.
Yeah. So when was the first time you actually start to think about this might be the escape or, a change that you're looking for?
Well, obviously seeing my instructor, my professor, what he's done so he's like living proof of it. But how many people start jiu-jitsu? How many people probably have the intentions of one day having their own gym, being a coach, but it doesn't happen? Like, so
I heard one statistic that out of 100 people, 10 will get a blue belt. But out of 100 blue belts, 1 will get a black belt.
probably sounds about right. Yeah.
So that's 1,000 in one.
Yeah.
Out of 1,000 people who starts, will eventually get to the black belt.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And still, first elimination is the blue belt.
It's strange. I don't know why that is. I don't know what the psychology behind
I don't know.
blue belts quitting.
Yeah, I don't know. But I have to say that once I got mine, I stopped for a year. But I had the legit circumstances. I mean, I say legit, but you know how it is. Like, stuff was happening, but I
understand. People have their reasons. Life, babies, mortgages, like businesses, stuff gets in there. And if you're only a hobbyist, it's not the most important thing in your life, right?
Yeah.
But
of course, like for me, and this is like I will say 100 times, like I'm not saying it's low on my priority list, but it's definitely not at the top 3.
Of course, yeah.
Like it's something I do, I enjoy, but it's not top 3 for sure. Yeah,
like you've got a lot going on.
Yeah, so but I enjoy it.
Early on, I just wanted to be a competitor. All I wanted to do was get paid, fly the world, fight in all the top competitions, and be a world champ. That's all I wanted to do.
Is it possible? Is it on what level is it possible to actually earn from competing? Is it possible to like live off competing?
I think some of the guys now, like the top guys, are starting to break through, earn good money, and they're going to set it up for future generations to be able to. But when I was coming through, I'm not sure if there was many athletes that were like the AJP. They offer like some good prize money. The way to earn money at the moment, from what I can see from the outside, is the no-gi scene, like the elite level no-gi scene, fighting on shows where you're getting paid to fight, and then also like people like Gordon Ryan. These guys are making money off instructionals and sponsorships.
Yeah.
So
basically making a name for yourself, so you got some follow-up and then turning that into business.
Of course, yeah. And then, so I never had the money to be able to travel, compete. I was fortunate enough to have a guy that one of my first ever jobs, he supported me, Cliff Rose, Swell Shutters, just to give them a shout out. They supported me well into like my purple belt days. So they put a lot of money into me traveling around the UK, getting to European competitions, even coming out to Abu Dhabi when I won in 2019. So I really owe a lot to Cliff and the guys at Swell Shows, because they made without them, even on a local scene in the UK, it would have been difficult, because like I said, I was with my ex, 2 young children. So like working, trying to provide for them, struggling through life, and then trying to travel around the country, pay to compete in competitions, pay for petrol, pay for food.
Pay for entry.
Yeah. So, and these comps are not giving prize money. So you're not winning, you're just getting a little medal. Like it's probably in a cupboard somewhere in the UK. I've got a bag full of like medals that they're good memories, and I appreciate the times, but they're worthless. Like, they didn't feed my kids.
Yeah.
So there were times when I was like, what am I doing? Sort of things like, is this really going to go where I want it to go? And then I started looking at, maybe I'll have a gym one day, or because I see my Professor Neto, he left his family, 2 young children, and he moved to the UK. He got similar like to me in Dubai.
So he's from Brazil?
He's from Belém, northern Brazil.
Okay.
So he had a good job there. He had two girls. He had an offer to go to the UK. So he took the risk. he moved to the UK, and he was actually like sleeping in a little room at the back of the gym that he now owns. So he's if he ever comes out here, I'll try to get him to come do a podcast with
For
you,
sure,
because
yeah.
his story is amazing. Like, it's so inspiring. So I see firsthand from him that if you put in the work, you take that risk and you go for it. There is, you can get something from this sport.
So he was more than just coach on the mat for you, yeah?
Yeah.
He was a big inspiration.
He's changed my life in so many ways, like as a person, as an athlete, and now as a coach as well. Like he's, apart from my dad, he's one of the biggest role models, like male role models in my life. Him, and he's done so much for me. I owe a lot to him. Like, I don't discredit myself because I put the work in. I did what it takes to get to myself to this position, but I'm also like grateful and understand what the people around me did for me. Like, there was times when I lost my job and I didn't work and I couldn't afford to go to the gym. So friends would take me and Neto and Danny, don't worry about paying this month. It's fine. Just make sure you're at training. So they would still allow me to go to the gym. They'd still allow me to train when they knew times were hard. Like, so there's a lot of things that them guys did for me behind the scenes that not many people know, that I'm super grateful for. And if I'm ever in that situation with people, my students, I like to think that I'll do exactly the same for them as well.
Yeah, you'll pass it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, without them guys, I wouldn't be here. Like, jiu-jitsu changed my life, but Neto especially, and Danny Dell, the guy who's business partners with now, who owns the gym, them two have done a lot for me. I really appreciate it.
There's always a very different bond, right? In martial art communities. People can really stick together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cliche, but we've got a saying back home is like, we're more than a team, we're a family. And wherever
some families wouldn't do this for each other.
Exactly. Yeah. So it really is like a family. Our gym back home, since I moved to Dubai, the gym's gone crazy. Like, there's so many students now. Half the guys I don't know. Like, I haven't trained with half of the people.
You are like a legend there for sure.
I'm not sure about that, but to see it from the outside and to see what he's created through, like, he came to the UK with next to nothing, like, and he was sleeping in a little tiny room out the back. Now,
but he had all the knowledge, right?
He had the knowledge. He had the mindset to let's go, let's try it. To a foreign country, couldn't speak English, like, let's go. And he was teaching classes of 1, 2, 3 people, traveling to another gym, teaching people of 1, 2, 3 people. Now his gym, they've got like 200-300 members at his gym. Like, when we have our grading, we bring he has like 16 black belts, I believe, under him now.
Oh, wow.
Like, he has 16 of his own black belts. And there's a good number of them that have been with him from white belt, like myself, from white all the way through to black. Like, so I received every stripe, every belt, bar one. I got off a Hachinho in Dubai.
I was there.
Every belt and every stripe I got from Neto. And there's several of us that are in the same situation. I believe there's 1, 2, 3. There's around about 6 or 7 gyms of his black belts that are spread around the UK. So he's like contributing massively to the growth of UK Jiu-Jitsu as well. And the guy came to the UK with just the knowledge and the work ethic to chase his dream.
That's cool.
Like, it's crazy. So it's so inspiring. And I'm proud to be like one of his black belts.
You're doing the same thing now, right?
Kind of, yeah. We actually spoke about this last time he came out to Dubai in November for the Worlds. He actually won his first world title at black belt.
Really?
At the World Pro, yeah. So
nice.
that was an amazing. We'll get to that when we talk about competing more. But that was amazing to see. But he actually said to me, "Do you realize how like similar your story is becoming to mine? Like, you got an exit home with 2 kids, you travel to another country to give up your job, to chase jiu-jitsu as a job. And it's like everything's like very similar to how my journey started. So that's nice.
Well, at least you have the kind of future outlined for yourself.
If I can achieve...
You know where to follow.
Yeah, if I can achieve 1/10 of what he's done, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Okay, you already mentioned it a little bit. Purple belt?
Yeah.
World champion.
Yeah. We're just so that people don't get like confused. It was in the Masters division, which is not as prestigious as the adult division, but...
It's your age category, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that counts.
It was still a big thing to me. I remember being fresh white belt, saying to Neto and Danny, I'm going to be a world champion one day. And they must have like... Because at the time...
That was after like 4 weeks training.
Yeah, probably something like this. So they actually had like a very small MMA team, but there was a lot of buzz about them. There was like Charlie Boy, Tanvir. These guys were out competing. So they was like, these are the guys when I joined, they were like what I wanted to. Like, look at these guys. Wow, this is amazing. And they was like looking to start fighting for titles, eventually go on to the UFC. And they were like jiu-jitsu fighters as well. So I remember like, I want to catch up to these guys. I want to be as good as these guys. So there was probably a lot of people that came in fresh, like eager. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I remember saying to Danny, yeah, I'm going to be a world champion one day. Okay, mate. Okay. And then just like a little...
changing in talk, yeah.
Yeah. So to actually like go on and do it was, I was pretty obsessed about doing it from early on. And then, like, it was a dream to get sponsorship to fly to Abu Dhabi. Like, I take it for granted now. This is home. Abu Dhabi's an hour drive.
Yeah, it's different when you are 6,000 kilometers from
exactly
here. Yeah.
right. So I'm in the UK, and like you're seeing on Instagram AJP World Pro, and you're seeing the advertisement, the videos. Like, wow, man, I want to compete in this so much. I want to be there. So yeah, then managed to secure sponsorship to like get flights and stuff. So I flew out with Neto and a good friend called Spencer Hewitt. So we flew out to Abu Dhabi. Everything was amazing, like my training. I was on weight before I flew. So when I got to Abu Dhabi, I had 3 days just chilling by the pool, like not worrying about weight cut. Like I was on weight. I was in good condition. I did everything like probably the best I prepared for any comp ever. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and then I went out and performed and I won. And I cried like a baby. Like I couldn't hold back. Like nice. You think about all these things that you're going to do when you win.
Did the fight felt hard, or was it like...
The final was actually easy. Like I submitted the guy twice in the final.
What do you mean twice?
Because I set him up, I armbarred him, and as I was belly down and rolling, he tapped my leg. So I let go of the armbar, but the ref didn't see it. And then the guy was like, what? So he acted as if he didn't tap. And I looked at the ref and I'm like, he submitted. So I'm like, I've won the worlds. And the ref was like, fight. Give me an advantage for a submission attempt. And he's like, fight. And I was like, what is going on? And this guy's shit. Like, and I'm like, oh,
you motherfucker.
Let's fucking go. So then,
you don't do this even on the training. Like,
no, so bad. But I learned a big lesson that day. Like in competition, you don't let go until the ref says stop. Like, so we got almost into the exact same position very shortly after that. Same thing. I set up with exactly the same thing, belly down armbar, and I felt his arm, and I was prepared to snap that because this guy already, like in my eyes, this guy cheated like for sure, 2 minutes ago. I was pulling his arm, just waiting for the ref to say stop, and the ref was like battle, and it like I even doubted that he tapped because there was time left on the clock. The ref stood us up, and I'm like, I'm wanting that confirmation.
He fucked it up for himself.
Yeah. I want the confirmation from the ref that I won. Like I want him to say like, and then when I realized I won, I just overcome with emotion. And I started crying.
Did you hurt his arm?
Yeah, he was walking around. I don't think it broke or anything. I think I just like stretched the ligament.
Okay.
nothing serious.
Nothing serious. Okay.
Training room injury.
Yeah.
So, but he was walking around holding his arm, and then afterwards, he's actually a nice guy. Like we had a good chat afterwards. He insisted he didn't tap. So
I was just about to ask if he admitted it.
No, he's not going to admit that though.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But I actually fought him recently in a no-gi sub-only show in Dubai.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened. Honestly, like
Really?
Yeah. There's video evidence, so I'll show you.
Doing this in this time when everything is on the camera, like, you know.
I think I went to heel hook him, or I think it was a heel hook, and he tapped my leg, and I let go, and I looked at the ref, and the ref didn't say. It was like same sort of thing, not as dramatic as the Worlds. And then I eventually went on to submit him later on in the fight as well with the heel hook. But
You all again got him with the same, yeah?
yeah. Actually, like a really nice like highlight reel finish as well. I did an Imanari roll into like a...
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
So like you invert, you roll.
Okay.
And then you tangle the legs. You end up into a position we call like the saddle, and then got in with a heel hook from there. So yeah, it's nice. And then all like that day, we took 6 competitors from Matador. So me and 5 students, and everybody got golds that day. So it was a good day for me as a coach, for Matador as a gym, and also for the students, because a lot of people put themselves out there when they didn't really want to, but they did
them,
it. Yeah? I didn't make them, but like...
You helped them to decide.
If you show an interest, if you just show a slight interest in you, let's go. Like why not? If you're curious, go find out. Like I'll always encourage everybody to compete, everybody, because it teaches so much and it's so much fun.
Wahim is doing this to me now, so
yeah, do it, bro. Honestly, do it. You'll love it. At least try it once.
Yeah, I'm decided. That's done. I was actually about to register on the last one that was in Abu Dhabi, but I missed the deadline by one day because we were just talking about it, and I was like, fuck it. And then that day the deadline was already gone. So anyway, world champion purple belt.
Yeah, and one thing about that day that leads into Neto winning is that Neto was competing, and I actually fought my final, and he was competing at the same time, and I didn't know because we was in the warm-up area together. So it was like a very bittersweet day for me because I came back to the warm-up area, and Neto and Hachinho were sitting there, and I'm like, I did it, I fucking did it, I'm a world champ. Like I was like tears, and I got over to Neto's giving me a big hug, and like he's so happy for me. And then I realised he's got sweat pouring down his head. I was like, did you compete? And he's like, yeah. Well, what happened? He's like, I lost ref's decision. And then it was like, at that moment, I was so high from the win, but then I was so disappointed for my brother. Like he wanted to be a world champion so much. Like, I've seen the work he's put into becoming a world champion. And it kind of like, and then I could see how much he was being happy for me, like as a coach and as a friend. And I was so disappointed for him, and it's so sad. And then recently we went to this.
That's a fucking emotional cocktail.
Yeah. It's like,
his side, your side.
Yeah. And we both feeling the same thing. So that he was feeling so high for me, and he feeling low for himself. And then I'm feeling so low for him and so high for myself. So then we went to the World Pro in November last year, and I lost my bronze medal match, and then I watched Neto win a Worlds. So, and I actually said to him before, I don't care what happens at this World Championships, I just want to see you win. I just want to see him achieve that dream. And man, it's making me feel emotional now, like in the crowd, watching him do that, and then what it meant to him. That's one of the best feelings I've ever had in jiu-jitsu, and it wasn't my own success.
That's very cool.
It was seeing him achieve that big goal that he's worked so hard, and he failed. I think he'd failed at it twice before that.
I guess you kind of know when people really deserve it.
Yeah.
Right? You really can tell, like, especially when you are along the journey with him all the time, and you're like, there's no fucking way anybody deserves this more than him.
It's such a nice feeling. Like, it's hard to explain. I was so happy for him.
Oh, Sam, one thing, this is just like a side question. Why Mosquito? For people who don't know, I introduced Sam as a Sam, but his nickname is Mosquito in BJJ. I would rather change it to Spider. How it feels being rolling with him. But
if you have Neto on, then you can ask him, because he gave me the nickname, like more or less my first jiu-jitsu lesson. I think it was my first or second. And
before your first competition.
Yes. So what I like to tell myself was, because obviously mosquitoes are the reason for a lot of human death in history, right? Because of malaria and the spreading of disease. So I just assumed that it was because I was small and deadly. But actually,
annoying as shit.
But that's what I think actually why he called me Mosquito is because I was small and annoying. Right, so just moving around so much, jumping around. He's like, you're like a mosquito.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
So I like to think that it was for better reasons than being small and annoying, but it stuck.
But
and now nobody but my mum calls me Sam, and my wife. But more or less everybody that I know calls me Mosquito.
Okay,
this is my name now.
Well, I mean, at least it has some meaning, right? Something you actually can be proud of.
Yeah,
because being annoying is a very big advantage in your sport. So, one thing that I know that you mentioned this long time ago to me when we had one of these jiu-jitsu conversations. How many times you wanted to quit and why you didn't? Because you said that there was many times.
Yeah, there was times. Some of the times was life. Like having to work, having a vision and wanting jiu-jitsu to become something that I didn't feel like it was. I don't think I would have ever quit fully because I loved it so much, but just putting in what I was putting in to be an athlete, to be a professional. I wanted to be a professional athlete, and I just didn't feel like I was ever going to make any money out of it. I was going to be stuck. Doing the same construction jobs for a long time, and it just questioned me, why am I doing this? And then other times was just, man, being 50, it's only since I come to Dubai that I started actually putting a bit of weight on, eating properly, training weights a bit more. I was always 57, 58 kg, naturally walking around. Always had a very high metabolism, so I could get away with eating more or less what I want.
Yeah, so it's not malnutrition.
Yeah, I was eating well. Always eat pretty well, apart from a few times in my life, but that's another story. But I could get away with more or less eating what I want because I was so active that I'd burn. And when you're that small, I'm naturally a small man. So having big guys, especially guys that come in the gym, if I'm a blue, purple belt and you've won a few things, you get a bodybuilder come into the gym and this little guy is better than me in the role. And then they start acting crazy. Some people got bad intentions, but some people are just I need to, this little guy is stopping me from doing what, I need to get past his guard. I need to do this. So then I'd get injured a few times from people, and then one of the turning points for me in jiu-jitsu, I actually stopped on the mats. I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not doing jiu-jitsu anymore. I walked off the mats. I got told off by Neto, like one of his children. I was rolling with one of Neto's black belts now, Marchila. I was a purple belt. I think I'd won the World Pro by now. And I was rolling with him, and he was just smashing me. Not being an arsehole or anything like that. Just jiu-jitsu. He's just a big guy. Mm-hmm. He's a big dude. And he was just I was stuck under him, and I don't know if I'd had a bad day, if it was a hard day at work, I was tired. because it wasn't unusual to be stuck under a much bigger guy, especially a brown belt getting smashed. So, and then just halfway through the roll, like I was really uncomfortable. I was getting smashed by this guy, and I was just like, "Stop, get off me!" And he's like, "What?" I said, "Get off." And I got up. I was like, "I'm not doing this anymore. I quit." I just walked off the mats, and then Neto was like, "What are you doing?" And I was, "I'm not doing this no more." And I walked off the mat. So he came over and he's like, "Why?" And then the realization of what I had to tell him sunk in. So I was like, the big guy's beating me up. So being the small guy, being squashed by the big, and just remember, like, Neto's around like 61, 62 kg himself.
Okay.
So Neto's just
the same story.
And his gym that he come from back home is notorious for big guys, big tough guys. His instructor was a big tough guy. So Neto's been through it all. So I basically had to tell him, I'm getting beat up by the big guy and I don't like it. So he gave me a bit of a telling off. We won't go into the details, but he gave me a bit of a telling off. And then once we got past that bit, he's like, "Look, you're 59 kg. You're training with a 90, 100 kg brown belt the same way you're training with a 60 kg guy. You can't train with these guys the same way. You need to change and adapt your game. Like, if you're going to pull guard and go underneath a big guy, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to get smashed. You're going to get squashed. But it's stupid." Right. So then he gave me a few tips, a few pointers. And then from that day, the way I train with bigger guys completely changed. And it also opened my eyes a little bit to, one, the mental side of things, and two, like, how you have to adapt and adjust, depending on who you're facing.
Well, play your strengths, right?
Exactly, yeah. So with a big guy, rather than me trying to get under him, try and lift him, or try and get to his back somehow, you keep the distance, keep them away, force them to put their weight towards you, and then redirect that weight. So instead of me climbing to his back, I let him give me his back. And then from that day, I was like,
I know what you're talking about.
So then from that day, though, I was like, my God, what have I been doing? And then you start understanding, like, from then I really started to concentrate on body mechanics, how the body moves. Like, if you lean into me that much, I just push that arm a little bit there, you fall down there, and now I can get your back. Or you're much stronger than me, but if you're laying on your back and you try and turn away from me, if I can just hold your elbow and pull it towards me, you can't turn your body that way because your arm can't go. So it's like, he's twice as strong as me, but I can hold him in this position just by holding one joint. Yeah. And then that's where
you need to learn which joint to hold.
Yeah. So what to hold, when to hold it. So then I started like, it's not just about how many cool moves you can do, and how good you can look at a competition. There's a science behind it. It's like the body moves in a certain way, so you need to understand the strengths and the weakness of a body. Like, if you can shut the head down, it's harder for the body to move if you can't move your head. And
tall guys versus short guys, right? Long legs versus short legs. Exactly, it's always very different. Yeah,
and then like bigger guys, it's easier. It sounds weird. If you get a big guy that can keep tight, then it's a nightmare. But being able to recover my guard, normally you can do it against bigger guys because they create more space when they move.
Yep.
When you get someone like Hachinho or Neto or someone like this, or like Salem, they're so small and tight that it's hard to, if they get to a dominant position, it's very hard to get out of there because there's no space to work with. Like, so yeah, it's learning how to adapt and how to deal with different body types.
So basically, out of your quitting that day came the biggest lesson.
Yeah, it was a very...
game changer.
Yeah, it's a very big turning point for me in jiu-jitsu in terms of my understanding of jiu-jitsu and what I concentrated on a bit more moving forward. I still tried my cool Berimbolo stuffs and looking good, but I understood that there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it rather than just what moves you can do.
Now we kind of like covered it partly, but I want to get a little bit more into detail. What was it for you and how it all happened that out of this pretty grueling life, working insane shifts, training, taking care of family, all that, you just got an offer to coach and basically do what you love the most as a job?
Yeah, so I actually remember after I won the World Pro in 2019, I got back to the UK and I messaged Hachinho because Marcos was working in Dubai for, I believe it was the Abu Dhabi police, or it might have been the UAE police. So he was based in Abu Dhabi. So I messaged him, any work out there? Like, if there's any chance of like coming out and working with you or whatever, please let me know. So I planted the seed then.
You met him here, or how did you guys know each other?
I knew Marcos since I was a blue belt because he's been very good friends with my professor for a long time. Okay, got it. He came to the UK. I don't know if it was to compete or if he was on vacation because his wife's family's from the UK. Mm-hmm. So he came over when I was a blue belt and he did a seminar at our gym and I actually met him then. And then when we came out for the World Pro, he kind of like hosted us, looked after us. Excuse me. So then Matador was opening and Hachinho was helping out with Salam with the opening of this, and Salam was looking for an instructor. I think they had been open for like 4, 5, 6 months maybe, and they had an instructor that was there that was going to be leaving. So Salam was looking for a new coach. So Marcos messaged Neto and asked if he had anybody that he thinks would be suitable, that he could recommend for a position there. So Neto was like, yeah, I know somebody, I'll ask them. And Neto spoke to me and he's like, got an offer from Marcos and Salam in Dubai to go out and be a coach full-time at Matador. This is what the pay is going to be, etc., etc. Would you be interested? I was like, yeah, but let me speak to my family. I need to speak to my kids. At the time, I was with my ex-girlfriend. So then I spoke to them. Everybody thought that it was a good idea, that I should do it. Like, it's what I'd been working for.
So at the end, it was like a common decision.
Yeah. Like everybody, like if there was nobody to ask, I'd have said, yeah, then I wouldn't have cared about money or terms, conditions, like, yeah, just went. So I asked everybody, I spoke to my parents, I spoke to my ex-girlfriend, the kids, and we all agreed that it was the right thing to do. This is what I'd been working for. Like, it'd be crazy to turn down the opportunity. My dad was actually, I think he was still being treated for throat cancer at the time. So that was a big, like, I didn't want to leave in case something like was going to happen to him. But he's like, it would make me more sad to see you stay. Like, even though I don't want you to be away from us, but to see you not chase your dream and go would make me feel worse than if you stayed around for us. Okay. Yeah. So once like everybody like was yes, I said to Neto, then yeah. Then they set a Zoom call up with Hachinho and Salam. Had a little back and forth about like pay, what they expect, the rules and stuff like this. I was like, when? And I was like, we'll fly you out in 2 weeks. I was like, okay. So it was actually like December the 11th. I believe it was somewhere around that time. And my boy's birthday is December the 22nd. Christmas Day is obviously 25th. So we just moved Christmas and my boy's birthday. So we had the celebration now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we had 2 weeks before I left. So we celebrated his birthday. We had Christmas dinner, the presents and all this stuff. And then I flew to Dubai with the intentions of only staying for a year. I said to Salam, no matter what happens, whether I like it, whether I don't, I said I'll give you a year. I'll stay for a year. So
why year?
it was just the agreement at the time because of having kids and the situation back home. I was still in a relationship with my ex. So a year was like, I can come see, you can see me, and then we'll decide a bit further down the line. Within like months, I knew it was something that I wanted to do longer term, as long as it made sense for everybody. So I ended up extending my contract for a year. And I was at Matador for 2 years, I think. I was working at Matador. Yeah, so unfortunately in that time, I split. Not unfortunately, because I wouldn't have met my wife now, but yeah, so I split with my ex and went on to meet
yeah,
my...
take that unfortunately back.
Yeah.
it's
it's not that. It's just splitting relationship. Like I spent 13 years with her, so it's like I said, no regrets. Everything leads to this point now. Like it was hard for the boys, like me being out here, and then I split in and having to deal with that. But then, 6 months later, I believe it was, I met my wife, and man, I believe that I never really believed in true love and destiny and stuff like that. Really, I thought that was for fairy tale films. But I honestly believe we were destined to meet each other, and both of our lives have led to us randomly meeting in Dubai. It's so crazy. She's from Thailand, I'm from the UK, and we randomly ended up in Dubai together, and we met, and it's been a whirlwind since.
Very cool.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu, man. Jiu-jitsu's brought me everything. In the last 8 years, everything that's happened in my life, jiu-jitsu's been at the base of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
And what are the plans?
So just to continue what in jiu-jitsu. So now I moved job to Hodja Gracie Dubai with Marcos, which has been it was sad to leave Matador. Like I said, I owe Salam a lot. I respect Salam a lot. Loved all the students at Matador. I learned a lot about being an instructor and being able to teach jiu-jitsu, not being able to just do jiu-jitsu.
It was basically first time, right?
Yes.
When you came, you were not teaching before, right?
Yeah, so I came over and I was just a brown belt, and I hadn't really competed much at brown belt because of COVID. Mm-hmm. I don't think I actually had competed at all at brown belt because of COVID. So yeah, I hadn't really taught. I was doing a few privates at home in my kitchen to some white belts, but in terms of leading a class and running off the curriculum, and man, it was so daunting. I realized quickly, I don't know what I'm doing. I was so grateful for the people that helped me through that stage, believed in me, gave me confidence to believe in my jiu-jitsu. Because it's not that I didn't know jiu-jitsu, because I was pretty successful competing, so I knew how to play the game. But playing the game to a strategy using a small amount of jiu-jitsu and teaching jiu-jitsu to people that don't know what jiu-jitsu is, being able to break the details down, explain what you're doing and why you're doing it, and then answering crazy white belt questions, which I always emphasize in my class.
What if he will do this? Yeah, that's the best one always.
What's that?
No, anytime you do something, you explain some technique, and I especially remember Mike being super annoyed when the question was but what if he does this? It was completely unrelated.
Yeah. But for me, unless the questions are too unrelated, if we're talking about controlling someone from half guard, but what happens if he does this when you're on his back? That's a different class. Yeah. But for me, I emphasize a lot to my students, because this is what Neto installed in us. There's no stupid question. If you're fresh, a white belt, and you don't know something, and you feel like you want to ask that, you need to ask it. It's my job to make you feel comfortable to ask that, and I'll do my best to answer it, no matter how crazy the question is. Yeah. And I actually learned a lot about myself and understanding jiu-jitsu from some of the questions that people asked, because they can be so random sometimes. Like, I just answer it logically at the time. Like, I trust in what I know of jiu-jitsu, that position, what I would probably do in that situation. And I'm like, damn, I didn't know the answer to that question. And then I'll go away and then I'll study something from that position or what related to what they asked. And now that expands my knowledge. Mm-hmm. So now I'm getting better. That white belt's getting an answer to his question. And then next time when that question comes up, I can give them a more detailed, in-depth answer.
Is there one right answer? Probably not, right? Because it's so complex. You always have multiple options.
Yeah.
Kind of like how to deal with it.
It's very similar, I find, to like when we're teaching you a technique. So we're teaching you a technique in the best possible situation. So if I'm teaching an armbar from close guard, you're letting me grab your arm. You're letting me turn the angle. So It's all perfect. Me and you both know that very rarely happens when you're rolling.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like, you can do this, but then also if they do this, then there's this option. If they do this, there's this option. So there's so many different scenarios that from my understanding of being in jiu-jitsu for the last 8.5 years and being around people that teach, there's only a very few things that I would probably say, this is wrong. Don't do this. Mm-hmm. Like, there's not much that you can say like, I'm right, they're wrong. Mm-hmm. Like, because there's so many different ways of being able to do things as well. Like,
also different types of people, right?
Exactly.
Different dimensions,
And your professor will show you an armbar, but he might have different details to the way my professor does it. So who's to say which one's wrong if they both work?
Yeah.
If they both get the submission, if they both hyperextend the elbow and eventually in a real life situation would break the arm, what's wrong?
Yeah, in CrossFit we had this saying when I believe they teach it on level 2. The good cue for better movement is the one that works. Yeah. For me, sometimes it's insanely stupid thing that I can only use for that one person. I remember instructing a very good friend of mine for a better deadlift, and for him, literally, it was overarch your lower back as much as you can, because only at that moment he actually reached where I needed him to be.
Okay.
But you can't use it ever for anybody else, right? Because, but that was what he needed at that moment. Yeah. Because of how, messed up his body was, and that applies to many situations. Like, the good cue, the good technique is the one that works, that will get you where you want to be. So probably similar.
Yeah, unless they're like super strength in a technique. But then at the end of the day, it's not the perfect technique, but if it achieves the same goal as the perfect technique, then it worked, right, in theory. So even if they've got bad technique, but they bend your arm to a point that it makes you tap, the aim is to bend the arm the wrong way and make the person tap.
Yeah, it's like when you do a choke, right? Some crossface, and instead of actually choking, you like breaking their jaw. Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's not a choke, but it will make them tap.
Exactly. Yeah. If they tap to pain, it's no different to tap into a choke. Like, yeah. So
it's not nice.
Yeah, it's not nice, but they've got a choice. They can lift their chin, let you choke the neck, or they can let you squash their face. So yeah, just to concentrate on becoming a better coach, like expanding my knowledge of jiu-jitsu, just keep learning from the people that I'm training with, from Marcos, from the students, trying to be better for the gym, for the students, and try and get back to competing as much as I can. Going to be tough now, and now I'm a black belt, so I'm looking forward to testing myself at black belt level. Actually going to be competing on Saturday.
Yeah, I wanted to ask this specifically because you mentioned something that there is no competition without an injury for you.
Yeah.
There's always something going on.
It's just always the way. Like normally it's something to do with the weight cut because I would normally cut down to like 56 kg. So
From
around 60, 61.
okay, so like 4 or 5 kilos down.
Yeah, so normally around like 5, maximum 6.
Yeah, but that's still 10%, right?
Yeah. So I'd normally do like 4, around about 50 to 58 in like diet. And then I'd probably do the last 1.5, 2 kg with like a water cut. If it's AJP, because you can do like day before weigh-ins. If it's same day weigh-in, then it's a bit more difficult. I'm trying to do as little water as possible, but that's even harder. It's so difficult to get down to that weight with just food because.
And
now,
you don't want to compete at a higher category?
I do, but that's the thing with day before weigh-ins is that the guys come down from like 68, 69, 70. They cut to 62.
Oh, shit.
They weigh in.
Yeah.
And then by the next day when you fight, them guys are back up to 65, 66, depending on how well their rehydration goes. And they're naturally bigger, stronger. So then I'll go weigh in at 62 walk around weight. So yeah, I feel good. I feel healthy, but now I'm naturally smaller and you've got to rely on them feeling a bit shit because
so
they've had a
basically
weight cut.
this sucks because once one person is doing it, it's pretty much expected
I'm
that you will do it as well.
I'm complaining about what I do in the division below.
Yeah.
So, but I don't cut that much compared to some of the guys, but it's still the same thing. Like I'm cutting down to that to be able to get back up to 58, 59 and fight at 56. So yeah, swings and roundabouts. But in an ideal world, we'd all just fight at our division. If you're 68 kg, fight at 69. If you're 62, 63, fight at 62. Like, it makes sense, but when it gets ultimate competitive at the highest level,
everybody wants an
everyone
advantage.
wants that edge, right? Yeah. So, and it does make a difference for me when I fight 56 and I get to hydrate for that half a day. I feel bigger, I feel stronger than most of the competition. And then it works the opposite for me when I fight 62. Because I just fought the World Pro at 62 and I do well in that division. Like, I don't feel weak or anything like that. It's just against certain guys, as you know, when the level of jiu-jitsu's around about the same, normally the bigger, stronger guy is going to win.
Well, if the skill matches, it's
the little guy could maybe they make a mistake and catch them. Like it's not impossible for the smaller guy to win when the skill level's the same, but normally the bigger, stronger guy wins. Yeah. So you try and give yourself that advantage.
You are leading to why you're getting injured.
Yeah, it's the depletion of like your immune system and things like that. So it always seems to be a week before a competition, 2 weeks before a competition, I'll get sick or I'll get some sort of injury. Like normally it's sick. Like I'm pretty good with injuries.
Like kind of like a running nose.
Yeah, so like fluid. So you get like congested, a bit of a runny nose, sore throat, feel a little bit tired. It's like, man, I've got to compete the weekend. Right, and you're trying to put the last little effort into your training and it's like you're starting to feel
and
shit.
Losing weight at the same time.
and you're like at that point where your calories are so low, your water intake's getting lower and you just, man, why do I do this? This question comes up a lot, like, why do I do this? But yeah, so this time around, I'm fighting at under 65 kg, a no-gi sub-only show called Grapple Fest in the UK. It's like
sub only means that it's only finished by submission.
Exactly, yeah. 10 minutes. Points. No. So 10 minutes, just try and kill each other. If there's no submission by the end of the 10 minutes, the way that this competition, the decision's made on who attempts the most submissions. So
okay, so there's no another added time.
No.
Okay.
So their whole aim is don't be afraid to lose, be afraid to be boring, which I think is amazing. It's like they just want us to go out there and put on exciting fights for the people who are paying to come and watch, for the people that are live streaming. So it's like, just go out, try and kill each other, try and pull each other's arms, legs off, and just give everybody the most exciting fight possible. So so I'm really looking forward to
Are
this.
these invites only, or how does it work?
This one, majority of them are invite only. So I think they do some of their matchups. You can like put your name forward, and then they can match up, because they have a prelims of around 10 to 15 fights, I believe, and then they have a main card of around about the same.
Oh, okay.
So I'll be fighting the second fight on the main card.
Nice.
Against a guy who he's been in my division since blue belt, but we've never actually met in competition. He's 3-0, so he's won all 3 fights that he's had on Grapple Fest. So it's going to be interesting. He's good, but I'm so confident in
You better.
my preparation as well. Like when I go into a competition, for me here, if I haven't prepared properly, if I've cheated my training in any way, it puts that little bit of, man, I didn't do what I was meant to do. But this time I've done everything. Everything, my diet's been good, my training's been good, my sleep's been good. So,
well, that's what matters, because, well, you, even whatever the result is, you won't be able to be like, what if I have, you just did your max anyway.
I did everything possible. There's the only downside, but it's not going to affect the way I perform, is that somehow randomly I got an infection in my ankle this week. I don't know how there was no cut, no bite, no.
I will not release this podcast before, so he doesn't know about it.
It's fine. I don't care. It's not like I said. I've still been able to train. I'm just on antibiotics and anti-inflammatories. It was just a couple of days. Like,
you fly to UK, yeah?
Yeah, on Friday. Yeah, so I'll fly Friday. I will fight Saturday night and then fly back. So just a quick visit. International, like, it's what I wanted. Like, an athlete flying the world, competing. So it happens. It's happening.
You getting paid?
Not for this. You make money off the tickets, like commission from ticket sales. But once you get like to the top of the card, then I believe these athletes are getting paid. Are
there people who don't do? Because I know a couple of guys like that from where I'm from, that they don't actually train jiu-jitsu. They train grappling.
Yeah.
And they specialize on that.
Yeah, so like no-gi, grappling.
Yeah. So is this guy... No, this guy is a jiu-jitsu guy,
He does both. Like, he's a brown belt in the gi, but he's predominantly fighting no-gi from what I can see. So, yeah, I've only really started, like, taking no-gi side of things, because it's a whole new game.
And what do you prefer?
You know what? I'm falling in love with no-gi more and more. I train it. But I love the gi too. Like, I love the intricacies of the gi. I like my lapels. I like to try and tie people up.
You taught me one thing.
Yeah.
Not by saying it, but just by doing it. Even you don't know what the other one is doing, always prevent it. Yeah. that's because, like, before my game was especially focused on MMA, and if somebody choked me with lapel, I didn't care, because it can happen. You know, like, or on the street, nobody's going to choke you with lapel.
With a tie, though.
Yeah, maybe with a tie. I will never wear a tie. But you know what I mean. And then you come and then you start to, like, pull out sleeves and this and this. I was like, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. And then suddenly, eyes out, I'm blue. It's like, oh shit. And then I really, really learned, like, even I have no idea what's going on. If somebody is taking pieces of my gi or preparing his gi, it's like, just stop it.
Yeah. They're setting something up. Yeah. Yeah. So I love that side of the gi stuff, but like the no gi side is like heavily like leg lock stuff. So there's a whole system, a whole like different side to it that you don't do in the gi. So I've kind of like reset it a little, if you like. I feel like when I started getting into the heel hook game, the leg lock game, entering into the saddle and starting to learn this stuff, and it's moving so much and people are innovating so much, I barely know any of it. And I'm still not very good at transitioning from one thing to another. But I felt like a fresh student again. Like, I'm like constantly
new universe.
Yeah, it's like, and then I'm getting that feeling again of of hitting stuff in training that I'm just learning and I'm drilling a little bit, and then, oh man, I managed to get that to work. And then you start using the blue belts, purple belts to drill these things, and then to try and practice these entries. And then you start hitting them on higher level guys that actually do leg locks. Like I have a friend who lives in Dubai. All he trains is no-gi. And he's very good with the leg lock game. And I've been getting some good like entries into it. So for me, like doing this against someone that's well versed in this is very like satisfying. It's like like when you're early in your journey and you're getting that I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but you're getting confirmation of like your improvement. Like, like I'm learning this, and now
that moment, like it actually works.
Yeah,
I can actually do it.
I'm actually doing this. And like a few weeks ago, I didn't even know what this was, and now I'm hitting it in training against people that know this and know how to defend it. So it's like exciting at the same time. So we'll see how the no-gi goes.
So basically, white belt again.
Well,
white belt mentality.
Exactly. Yeah, they say when you get to black belt, that's the start. So you spend all that time getting to what you think is the end, and then really that's the start.
Yeah, I had one dad of one friend of mine. She's a CrossFit athlete, and they were here on a competition, and I got to talk with him, and he was just with her, and we just spent an afternoon together, and he is 25, 30 years Aikido guy.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was like, you know what? I was doing Aikido because I liked it. You know, it was like he almost said like an old man, gentleman's martial art, you know, just like going there and practicing and all that. And there is no competition in Aikido. There is one branch of Aikido that tried to do it, but the whole philosophy is going against it, because in Aikido, you have Tori, the attacker, and Tori, the defender, and Uke, the attacker. And the Uke is the one who is like kind of simulating the attack, but you need him there because you do the technique on him. Yeah. But there's no like actual attack or sparring. You're like practicing it. Yeah.
So you're drilling for a situation that could happen.
Exactly. Yeah. And he told me like after 20 years, I realized it's deadly. I was like, what? And he started to explain me certain specific things. And you know, like when you do this movement and then you move your foot here, and he was just going into the specifics of it. He's like, it's designed to kill. Yeah. And I realized it after 20 years. When he was like 10-year black belt or something. He's like third degree or third dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, third dan black belt. And he's like, yeah, like, I only learned that after 20 years. It's actually fucking crazy.
So, most martial arts were like, from a military point of view originally, sure. Right? So they were all designed to kill at one
also
point.
The katas, right? Like the katas were designed as a system to remember the moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have only the dances. Yeah. Air quotes. Dances, all the movement, and it's dynamic, and the breathing into it, right? Like they yell kiai and whatever, because that's where you're supposed to exhale, and that is showing you, and it's basically like a unwritten storytelling and a manual of what is possible. All these katas, so it's crazy. Yeah, it's like, you know, you get your 10,000 hours mastery. Okay. Now master the mastery. Yeah. And once you're there, again, you know, master what you got so far.
Exactly.
This with you and coaching, right?
Yeah.
It's very different to know something and then to teach something.
Yeah. I have very admiration for like coaching and people that put so much time and effort into the craft, like, because it's not as easy as what it seems, should I say. I don't want to speak for all people, but like just to get in front of a class, show a technique or 3 or 4 techniques, it seems easy, right? Like you're just showing an armbar from side control, or you're showing knee on belly to mount. But then when I first started doing that, like, oh, I need to remember this detail, that detail, this detail. Am I talking clear enough? Do they understand? Am I missing a detail? And then sometimes you'll explain a technique and you know what you're teaching and you know the details, but then there'll be, this happened to me a few times as well. You'll send them away and they'll start drilling in their pairs and you're like, no, I forgot the biggest detail in the whole, and it's like, they're all doing it wrong. Like, they're all, I need to, like, stop, come back to the middle.
But this is owning it, right?
Yeah,
because
I forgot a detail. I'm so sorry, guys. Like, I've made a mistake.
That happens. Like, and when you're human about it, you will have even more respect, right? Because it's way better than letting them do it their way, whatever is happening.
Like, why is this not working? Because me showing it, I could probably get it to work by missing a detail because my understanding of the position of what the outcome's going to be. But when you don't know, it's like, this is not working. And then I can see them all failing and I'm like, oh my God.
And especially when you don't have the partner.
Yeah.
Training partner cooperating and they're like even weirder about it.
He's like, this don't work. I'm like, yeah, that's my fault, guys. Sorry, come back. But that's because I was humble enough to know that I was still a white belt in coaching and these mistakes are going to make me a better coach.
Yeah. And, and the pressure you're saying, just getting in front of people and talk, that's a milestone for many people itself.
Yeah.
And of course, it's hard when you care because one thing is to do it and one thing is to do it well.
Yes.
Yeah, just to really make sure that everybody understands because it's like with the cues, like what is the purpose? So they understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. The purpose of teaching is not to tell people. Anybody can tell. You can, especially now, you can Google everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you need to get them understand.
Exactly,
and that can't be done through the YouTube. So as a coaches, we are still good. We are not going to be replaced by ChatGPT that soon, at least for now.
We might have a robot jiu-jitsu coach eventually. It can help.
Yeah. Well, I already seen all these little things like a little manual robots that it was able to shape something or like wrap a gift or stuff like that just because it was like it pushed here and I was just imagining like you have these robots there and you're just standing and it's adjusting your squat into the position.
You don't have to set your wrap up anymore. It does it for you, put your weights on.
I don't think so because it's just so complex and everybody's so different and even you have all the information.
Yeah.
The information is nothing without the application of it.
Yeah, of course.
So
yeah, I remember the first time I had a black belt come to one of my classes. So she's a competitor. She was teaching herself. She actually works and lives in Dubai. And I was teaching with a black belt. And normally he would take the advanced classes. I was doing like the fundamentals and we was doing the kids together. So I was more or less just teaching white belts, some blue belts at the time, I was still nervous doing them classes. And he's like, you can do the advanced class today if you want. And then it was normally still only like blue. And then maybe we'd get the odd purple belt come in and stuff. So I was like, all right, no worries. And it was only teaching pretty simple stuff. But it wasn't something that I was super comfortable in teaching. And then last minute, these two black belts came. And I was like, bro, I can't teach. He's like, what? I was like, I can't teach. I can't teach the black belts. I was like, you have to do the class. I switched up. I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, what if they know more than me? They're instructors themselves. But how am I going to teach them the details of a double leg when I pull guard? Like, I don't do takedowns. Like, so these have been black belts longer than, like, for a long time. I can't teach these. And he's like, just chill. Just do it. No one's going to judge you. So I did it. And I was so nervous. I messaged the girl afterwards. And I was like, what did you think of the class? I was so nervous to teach like in front of you black belts. I was like worried that I was teaching the wrong details. She's like, relax. It was a good class. Don't worry. No one's judging you. She's like, and I was like, oh, thank you.
You can also, I think this is very kind of, I know it's competitive, but it's also friendly environment. What do you think would happen if after you showing the technique and teaching, you would turn to them like, hey girls, like you're more experienced. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah.
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 Like why not, right?
Yeah, of course. And I think that there's a very, very large number of people in jiu-jitsu that have that attitude, and because I understand that I can learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And most people haven't got that ego in jiu-jitsu. Some people will have that. Like they know best, they know more. Like what can, even now, I understand that there's probably certain things that could happen in jiu-jitsu that you could teach me. Like, because
I would be careful.
I'm not saying like a specific technique or a specific detail, but because of your understanding of the body mechanics of like your training, like something could happen and you could go, but if you just hold him in this here, like it's going to make it harder for him to move like this. Oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't see that before. So I know that I could learn from you. I actually see Neto as a black belt when I was a blue or purple belt, and the white belt said to him, but Neto, what if you did it like this? And Neto was like, yeah, I never really thought of it like that. Yeah, well done, that would work. Like, so he was humble enough as a black belt to give a white belt recognition of something that he didn't. Maybe like if he thought about it for 5 seconds, it would have been simple enough, but it
didn't occur.
Yeah, maybe he never needed to try it that way or to do it that way, that he never really thought about it. But instead of him dismissing the guy in front of a full class, he was humble enough to say, yeah, well done, I never thought of it like that, which had an impact on me. No one ever really spoke about it, but I was like, wow, like that guy, he's learning from white belts, like, or he at least he's portraying that he's open to learning from white belts. So I try and keep that type of mindset that anybody can teach me anything at any time. Like white belt to a coral belt, anybody could teach you something at a certain time. So yeah,
it's an open system.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
still new techniques being developed all the time, right?
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah, you'll never catch, right? You'll never catch up with that. You cannot possibly learn all of them, right? Anyway, so
no, I feel like, especially as a competitor, as a coach, you need to understand concepts rather than individual moves, and then them concepts can lead into other concepts, and then things that can happen from situations you need to be able to understand. And as a competitor, I believe that you need to concentrate on a small number of techniques that you're good at. So if you pull guard, get good at a couple of guard pulls. If you're good at takedowns, get good at a couple of takedowns. And then once the fight is where you need it to be, if I'm on the bottom, then I have a strong game. So I know a small area of stuff that I've mastered, say, and that's what I'm looking to do. And then you adapt to the situation that arises in competition, because nothing ever goes exactly how you want it. But you need to have an understanding of the other stuff at least, because if that's his strong game, you don't understand it, and he can put you there, the fight's going to end quick. Like, so as a competitor, I feel in your game, you need to have a really good understanding of what you want to do and how to do them techniques, how to implement them and how to set them up, and then have a good understanding of the rest of jiu-jitsu, defense and attack wise, so that you can.
I heard this expression. It was relating to who can be considered a smart person. Yeah. And the answer was, which I think super well applies to what you're just saying, that it's somebody who knows everything about something and something about everything.
Yeah.
So you have one thing that you are really, really specialized, but you also have kind of pretty solid understanding of other stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that I think for me, that sums up being a competitor in jiu-jitsu. Because like you said, there's so much. You can't be amazing at it all. So you need to find what works for you. Also, as well, as like, I always found that I excelled in the techniques that I enjoyed doing. Like, so I had fun trying to get them to work, even when they didn't work. So when I was training and I was doing berimbolos, the satisfaction of actually like getting underneath someone, getting to the back, man, that's so good, so fun. So then even when I was failing, I was like, oh, I was so close.
Yeah.
Oh, why didn't that not work? So it pushed me to keep trying that technique. But then the techniques that I didn't like, I didn't enjoy, or I felt like I'm going to get injured if I keep trying these techniques. I understand it, but I don't train it. I don't drill it. I just like, so a double leg, they need to do this, 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 and this. But I was never from any type of like wrestling background or anything like that. And I just found being a small guy, flexible, playing off my back was my strength. So why am I going to spend hours learning takedowns when I go to a competition? I'm not going to try and take someone down.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's the point for you?
Yeah. So for me, it's like, I'm just going to pull guard. Every training session, I'm going to pull guard. I'm going to butt scoot and I'm going to play off my back.
You remember, for sure you remember Mohammed?
Yeah.
The young, the young blue belt now.
Yeah. The protege.
Yeah. Protege. So he actually was banned from pulling guard anymore. So he was doing all the training. There was a couple of sparrings, there was specific trainings, and coaches told him, you can do whatever, but if you pull the guard, you have push-ups for that.
For him as well, I find, like for me, I was so late into jiu-jitsu. I was like a grown man. He's so young. So if they can install a very all-round game into him now, it's ideal, because then once he does become a black belt, if he's efficient in takedowns, guard pulling, we all know that he's got a good guard. He pulls guard and his guard's so hard to pass already. He's only just got his blue belt. He's only been training a couple of years. Like, and purple belts, brown belts struggle to pass his guard. So like if they can get him as an all-round athlete, that's going to benefit him. For me, I just wanted to be as good as I could be at my strengths as quick as I can.
Yeah.
Like he's got so much time in front of him. He's what, 16?
Oh, you still have time, like you talk like some.
But realistically, to fight, this is why, even though I got silver, I fought the World Pro at brown belt in the adult category, which is 19 to 30 year olds. So technically this is IBJJF, AJP, whichever competition you're doing. The adult category is the prestigious category to win. So if you're a world champion at adult, that's the one to win. So I was like 36. I should be fighting Masters 2, which is 35 to 40 year olds. So I was like, you know what? I'm not getting any younger. I hadn't competed at the world level at adult yet. I'd only done Masters division, my division. So I was like, I'm going to enter adult. I'm going to fight against these guys.
Can you do both?
Yeah, you can do both. But I could only do one at this time. So it was like, I think because Mike was doing Masters and we was both coaching at Matador. So because of one of us needing to be at the gym.
The day of the... Okay.
So I think Mike actually went and won the Masters. And then I competed at adult. And I didn't know whether I was good enough to compete with these youngsters. Like some of these guys are like 19, 20 years old and they're brown belts already. Like, so they must have been training like as kids, gone through the belts like pretty quick. So I was like, let's try. Let's just go. Like, I just want to see where I am, world level, no expectations, prepare the best I can, go out and see what happens. And I'm actually like performed very, very well. Like one of the best comps that I've had in terms of like performance wise, dominated like pretty much my fights. And then I got to the final and I made like a really silly mistake. I went to, because I pulled guard in the first two fights, and the way that I was pulling guard at the time is that like you launch yourself at your partner, grab the gi and then you sit down. So my opponent and his coach, I think, had watched my first two fights and see that I do this. So I went out for the final, like live on TV. The whole stadium was like, we was the only fight on. Everything's like concentrated on the finals, on the mats in the middle. live on like the sports channels all across the UAE. So it's like, I didn't realize at the time how big of a moment this was for me until afterwards, like when I started taking it in. And I went to pull guard like this and the guy like flying triangled me. And I managed to survive like 45 seconds or something like that in his triangle, and he armbarred me from the triangle. So I got submitted in the final in one of the most embarrassing ways that could. But after like the disappointment of losing in the final, that competitiveness in me, and I started to reflect on where I come from. Like, I'm fighting at the highest level in Abu Dhabi, live on TV. Like, I'm just a kid from Kemsley, just a kid from a little village in Kemsley. Like not many people do this sort of stuff. So, and then I really started to like relish in how far I've come. Like, the disappointment of like losing in the final, it still hurts, but I started to see the good rather than the negative of losing at that moment. So yeah, that was like a big moment for me in terms of seeing where I'm at and being an old man competing against a young athlete. So
that's I believe that many times we just forget how far we've come.
Yeah.
What we went through and how much we managed to go through, because it's just you always focus on what's coming.
And what's right in front of you, yeah.
And what's right there. And then you look at, the saying, I'm all about quotes today, that if you are the same as you were last year, you have a problem, right? And this is just like, okay, don't look 2 weeks back, don't look 2 months back, but look at where you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago,
exactly,
10 years ago. And if that didn't change, well, that's a problem. Yeah, because we should be evolving.
Exactly.
That's the only thing that we are actually designed to do. Like, it's not and this is, the Jiu-Jitsu is probably the best analogy for this. It's not the strongest, it's not the fastest, it's the one that can adapt the best who survives.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Because I find with like the highest level competitors that they're all very good at what they do, but I feel like the best guys are able to adapt to the situation that's happening. Because like I said, even if my A game's very good, that guy's A game might be the kryptonite to mine.
Mm-hmm.
So the guys that can adapt on the move to the situation that's happening are normally like the most successful guys. And then you get freaks like Gordon Ryan, who's just he's just so good at what he does that even though people know what he's going to do, it's hard to stop.
We would kind of need a different league for him, right? Like 2 at a time at him or something.
I think there's a few guys out there that can get close to him. Like, but at the moment he seems to be, I don't know what it is about him, that maybe it's just his attention to detail, the actual time and effort that he does put into studying.
Probably everything, right? Like all the factors of who he was coached by, right?
Yeah.
The best coach, probably one of the best coaches in the world.
Definitely.
So, and the background, and also I think
and just raw talent as well. Some people are they just pick up things. Like, some people might say that they were born to do it. Like Michael Jordan was born to play basketball.
Yeah, but he also spent
million
hours doing it.
Talent worked hard, right?
Yeah, talent who worked hard.
Yeah, so they're proof of like talent that works hard.
Yeah,
but yeah, so you got some exciting guys coming through in the jiu-jitsu scene, like the Rotilo brothers, Mika Galval, and these guys. There's some good names coming through. Whether they get to the level to take Gordon Ryan out, I don't know, but we'll see.
Sam, Mosquito, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making time in your busy schedule. And, good luck, and hopefully see you soon on the mat. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll pop in soon. Come train with you guys. I'll get this competition out of the way. Yeah, then, good luck on that one. Yeah. And, see you around. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much.